Perfect. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Hackers looking around finding ways to hack into the system to steal data, lock down our server so that we pay some ransom and etc. Is having a disaster recovery environment sufficient to resolve this matter? What kind of product are crucial that we need to stop the attack? Someone once told me, to make sure you're not being hacked, you should hire a hacker. I do not know which one is right, which one is not true. So we have our speaker today, Mr. Hon Fun Ping from NetAssist, who will help to shed some lights to help clear all these myths that we have about cybersecurity. Please prepare your questions if you have any questions to clarify or to ask to learn further from Mr. Hon. And now the floor is yours, Mr. Hon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's a Saturday, but yet I'm glad that you are still spending your time with us together. And I'd like to share my knowledge because actually I started my career when I was, I just graduated from TechTalk College as a computer science student. That was 1996. So today, now we are 2022. So come to think of it, it's about 26 years that I have been involving around cybersecurity industry. It keeps changing. 20 years ago, we talk about firewall, we talk about virus, we talk about hacking, but today they're still talking about same old thing. It's just that the tactic that changed. And now they talk about AI, artificial intelligence. It sounds really complicated at once at some time. And when it comes to cybersecurity, I have seen many people, and then commonly they have this idea, say, hey, yeah, I saw this in the movie, I saw this in newspaper, but it's not going to be likely to happen to me because my data is not important, it's not interesting, nobody wants my data. And cybersecurity is a cost of doing business. I will try to achieve safe cost. There's many other more important things for me to spend my money on. And of course, cybersecurity, firewall, antivirus is just another good to have technology. So today, how I have prepared myself in the knowledge sharing today is that let's go back and review. I will actually talk a little bit about trend. What we are actually seeing, how is this trend going, the cybersecurity trend, and then from there, let's look into the reason behind this trend. How is it? Why is it become like that? And then from there, everybody is talking about economy is bad. Is there a better way for us to maybe save some money, but yet get it secure? Which I think I would like to actually share some knowledge about. Hey, maybe there's some tips. There's some way that you probably can save some cost in securing yourself. And eventually, when it comes to cybersecurity, is there any way I can take advantage of it? Yes. So which is why that will be part of my sharing agenda today. In fact, I have read some of the cyber insurance reports. It actually has shown to me is that you are 15 times more likely to get cyber attack than to get a theft or a fire. You probably have bought your fire insurance, your theft insurance for your business, but come to think of it, your cyber risk is even higher than that. In 2020 itself, ransomware attack within 1 year has almost grown 500%, close to 500% of the occurrence. And before that, it was like 200-300% growing year on year. Of course, 2020 is more serious year. Until to the extent that the World Economic Forum actually have put cyber security failure as one, in fact, as the top four threat that a business should be considered, because these are the threat that actually is affecting your business apart from your infectious disease, the livelihood of the crisis, the extreme weathers. And furthermore, 2022, this is another World Economic Forum statistic has shown it gets more serious, especially after COVID-19. And they actually ranked number top 7 in terms of the seriousness of the increase of the seriousness of cyber threats. So to come back to what I usually day to day, we actually talk to people, and we actually do some research. And there is another research paper that shows that more than 85% of your customer will start considering stopping doing business with you, which is quite natural. Imagine that just as an example. Imagine if you have this bank card, credit card of Bank A, and let's say this morning you read a news, it said that, okay, Bank A, their their user information, their customer information has been leaked out. I guess one of the idea you probably will think of is maybe I should actually immediately stop my credit card because I do not want people to use this and start spending money using my credit card number. So that is one of the ideas. Another idea is that imagine if you have been getting some products, some materials from one of your suppliers, the source, the time, the price, the volume that you take is all with the supplier now. And accidentally, this supplier leaked out this information elsewhere. Maybe now your supplier, your competitor has the information of what kind of material you take, what kind of cost that you're paying for this material, and what kind of volume and where did you get it from. So all this information now is maybe available in the outside. Will you still consider to do business with this same supplier? Same thing, which is why people talk about cybersecurity is good to have. To many people, come to think of it, cybersecurity can affect your livelihood. And if you have seen cases, they are talking about probably causing you to not being able to continue to operate. But when it comes to cybersecurity, it's very often come back to these words called vulnerability. What is this vulnerability? In this world today, everything is connected. Your TV is a computer. It's just that with a bigger screen, able for you to see entertainment, sing song, but it's connected to the internet. Your car is actually another computer. It's just that it's a computer with 4 wheels, can bring you around, but it's connected in the internet. So everything else, your phone, even your toaster, your fridge, your aircon is now connected to internet. So they are actually computers inside. But when people build this component, actually inside is little computer software, little modules communicating with each other to deliver a specific functions. So when they build this little component of software running in your TV, in your aircon, they were meant to communicate with one another modules, and then they were not being designed to stop anyone else to communicate with them or to change the function or to upgrade. Of course, why? One of the reasons is that they also want me to be capable to be upgrade, the version upgrade of the little module from time to time. But that also, it becomes a problem whereby from time to time, this little module, when they talk to each other, some of them being upgraded. And then from there, it created a certain gap of communication between this little module. And this communication gap sometimes can be used to ask them to do something else. When you ask them to do something else, it means it is not doing something that is supposed to be. It becomes a vulnerability. And some of this vulnerability can be used to take control of the machine, and which is why vulnerability keep coming up every now and then. Today, like I said, your toaster probably is communicating in the internet. So this may look like a joke, but if you think more seriously, maybe in future it probably is not a joke. Of course, it's not turning your toaster into a blender, but it can be one of the proxy, one of the gateway for you to communicate among your own appliances within your room, within your house, within your factory. Last year alone, one of the statistics has shown within 1 year, 18,000 new vulnerabilities. If you do the mathematics, you start to realize that almost every half an hour, there is a new way being made available to any hackers to take advantage of it and to do something funny. Look into the detail about this vulnerability, and so it gets even more scary because 90% of these new vulnerabilities, new weaknesses that have been discovered, can be easily exploited without much technical knowledge. And many of them, you don't need to even have a password to take advantage of those functions. More than 50% of them are high availability. That means that it's easily available. You can easily find in all the machines, all the OS, all the desktop. It's easily available, and you don't need to have high skill. You don't even need to have passwords to talk to them. When it comes to vulnerability, I like to share a knowledge about these things called 0 day. Some of you probably heard of it. The 0 day means that from the day the software being built, and then suddenly, because of some change of version upgrades of firmware, it created certain loophole, and we call it vulnerability. And some hackers, some criminals will find the vulnerability and then start doing something about it. They create some script, some viruses, to take advantage of all this vulnerability and do something funny on you. Of course, eventually these things been discovered, and the software owner, the software vendor, finally says, okay, I'm going to develop a later version to patch it up. But from the day that this vulnerability has been exploited to the day that the vulnerability being able to patch, there is a gap. There's a gap time. Some takes days, some takes weeks, some even takes months. And this is what we call a 0 day. Until the first day that the vulnerability being patched, that is what we call it the day 1, day 2, day 3 vulnerability. So it's similar concept like today we know that is this thing is called COVID-19. And then we wait until the day the vaccine is available. It will from the day that you discover COVID-19 until the days that you have the vaccine. This is what we call 0 day. And these things can actually happen. One of the very hot topic lately, the last 1-2 months, is this thing called Log4j. It's a very commonly used module for especially Apache, for you to keep logs. Keep log means that what are the activity that happen in your software. You need to have a module to keep track of the activity. That's the Log4j comes in. But there is a weakness inside there. And this is one of the very famous lately, we call it 0 day. From the day that you know there is this vulnerability, until the day that you have the patches, it actually, in between, there's a lot of things happen. Until there's, if you go and Google around, you'll see a lot of news about the seriousness about this Log4j. I don't go into detail, but you can actually read all this different coverage of news about the problem of this Log4j. One of the examples is that within first 3 days of this vulnerability being discovered, being announced, almost every minute there is 100 attack being happen every minute. Within the first 3 days, it's 840,000 of exploitation. The attack has been happening, going around heavily in the cyber industry. Why is that so? Because now data is the new oil. You can actually get the data, you can sell it. One credit card information cost, you can actually sell it for $5 US. One medical record, you can sell it to $1,000 US. So that's why this is one of the new factors causing a lot of people motivated to be cyber criminals. There is some actually research shows that a typical hacker can earn per project, per hacking, up to $30,000 US per project. If you are the master, because nowadays hacking is a group project, a core-related teamwork. If you are the one who organize one criminal, collecting different experts together and deliver one hacking project, you can earn as much as up to 2 million per project. Individually, cyber criminals, in fact, typically they earn much higher than your drugs dealer, your pimp, or your smuggler. They actually earn better and safer. That's why a lot of people say cyber criminal is one of the most profitable and secure jobs to do. Based on some statistics, even a low earner, someone who are not good, lazy, yet they still manage to earn $4,000 US. What if you are a better, higher, complicated, harder cyber criminal, you even more higher, which is why it becomes a very motivating factor. And on top of that, cyber criminal, you doesn't need to be expert. You can see easily go into the dark web. You can just pay money, and there are people who do it. Ransomware as a services, DDoS as a services, all sort of services. You just have to pay money in terms of the Bitcoin, and yet someone will do it for you. Which is why these are some of the price tag, the catalogs that you want to. If you want, you don't need to be expert. You can just spend a bit of money. You buy this information, and then you can do something funny about it with all this information. Which is why, again, this is a similar report that I actually got it from the World Economic Forums. You will notice that 2019, and then I compare to 2020, there are such of 4 times of transactions to pay to ransomware using Bitcoin. Thanks to Bitcoin, thanks to this cryptocurrency, because now payment being made without being able to trace back. So it's secure for a cyber criminal to do something naughty and get paid, and yet will not be able to trace. That is one of the major factors encouraging more and more people want to be a cyber criminal, because you can get paid and you can cash out without people knowing, knowing who are you. And that is why over the years you can start seeing these are all the local cases happen in Malaysia of various cyber criminals attack. And some of these companies, they have the big budget. Some of them are big company. They have millions of dollars yearly budget being able to spend on protecting themselves. And yet, how come? Are you going to buy every firewall, including buying a firewall for your own toaster? And on top of that, thanks to all this COVID-19, there are trends of more and more people want and requested and prefer to work from home. They become another momentum, another main reason why cyber attack become a much serious issue. So this is all the thing that we actually try to investigate in that behind the driving factor of these cyber criminals. Today, when people work from home, cyber criminals are even happier to see this thing happen, because now your end user are using their home PC, their own desktop at their home, and these are the machines were not being protected by your firewall. They are outside of your office data center and your office firewall. When work from home happen, you are outside of the protection of the wireless security, because many people, when they work from home, they're using the typical unified Wi-Fi, and that is one of the weakest setting, where a lot of times they're still using default, and people can easily hack into your Wi-Fi and plant something and start investigating and see what you do. Your password security, your email security, which I think nowadays a lot of people are still using the common password for everything else. Your home PC, are they updated with the latest antivirus? When you are in the office, you still have a security guard looking after your server. But when your machine is at home, people can bring in your home and take out your notebook, and then there you go. All your physical security is not there. Social engineering is one of them. So which is why we start to wonder, why people have invested expensive firewall, but yet this big organization was still being compromised and data still being leaked out. Of course, one of the main reasons is that the human error, human ignorance. Many reports have shown human is the weakest link on your multi-million-dollar cybersecurity strategy. All it takes is just one user accidentally click on some link. There you go, your $1 million defense of firewall and antivirus gone down to the drain. So to save this problem, one of the suggestions that I highly recommend, which is free of charge, you can actually easily go to in the internet, look for some of the security awareness training, encourage, or even sometimes make it as a policy to your office user, your colleagues, making them say, okay, go through this particular training, learn all the security awareness, what are the do's and don'ts, so that you prevent yourself from being exploited. There are some of the simple things that you can do without investing a lot of money, and yet tremendously increase the security and reduce the risk of your organization. YouTube, there is a lot of free knowledge. You don't even need to pay a single cent, but yet you should learn all these things. Go and encourage your colleagues, your user, learn that, and make it as a policy as much as possible. Of course, there's another group of idea is that the best way to learn a lesson is to experience it. So there are certain organizations, what they do is that, there are certain service provider or cybersecurity specialists, what they do is to make it even more effective, is to combine the cyber attack simulation, so that they experience the real attack, the real life attack, and then come together with the security awareness training. In fact, many organizations they're engaging some service provider to design a simulated phishing attack or simulated cyber attack bundled together with training, and that make it more effective. You probably want to consider that. Of course, that is you need to spend some money on some service provider. If you don't want, maybe you should just go to YouTube and learn. It's free. And another thing is that when it's come to firewall, a lot of people say, oh, no, I'm not too worried. I got my latest firewall with the latest artificial intelligence features to protect the hackers from coming in. But firewall still will not be able to help you if it is an insider attack. If you do not patch up your server, you do not patch up your firewall appropriately, or the way you configure the setting of your firewall will not being reviewed, will not being, there's sometimes there are certain conflict of policies with a few, and when the conflict policy, it probably will create some trouble for you. And this thing is called distributed denial of service, which we have seen in the pattern. When there's actually making a lot of machines trying to talk to you, they talk to you in the legitimate traffic, in the legitimate way. It's just that what they do is that they make a lot of machines talking to you, keeping you very busy and making you out of the service because you won't be having enough of resources to handle more legitimate business transactions. It has been actually quite common now. We have seen that a lot of people, when the engineer, when they do the setting of the firewall, they set the policy at the network layer. You know, the network internet communication, there's this thing called OSI. There are 7 layers. From the most bottom of the network layer, the transport layer, to the above the application layer or the user layer. These things, there are various different type of way people can attack. And very often, when the engineers set your firewall, because they actually go the default on the network layer. But the problem today we have seen is that the trend, more and more cyber attack happen at the application layer. And it is easier because every now and then you update your application's features, you update your patches of the different module, and that's where created loopholes. The question we ask is that, when was the last time you review your application layer policy, or you only pretty much looking into your network layer policies? So these are the questions that you can ask to see whether have you updated your application layer policies. Or even though you have done that application layer policies, you actually created all sorts of alerts. Every day, maybe tens or hundreds or even thousands of alerts. When was the last time you really finishing reading all the alerts and verify and updates? The alerts, maybe some of them may be giving you some false alarm, but are you sure? Maybe is there any alerts are giving you really serious warning, and have you really do something about it? Really? Have you really have time? And actually, whenever a web application being compromised, there are many reasons, there are many possibilities people can take advantage. This is some of the statistics we actually discover. People can take advantage of the application vulnerabilities. Which is why, to make it simple, we have seen it. Firewall has done a great job with the latest artificial intelligence capability, analytic capability to actually protect you from outside trying to come into your network. But we have seen many cases. Very often, firewall are not able to investigate and look into any activity initiated from within your network, trying to go out, your outbound traffic, outbound activity. And very often it is encrypted. So when it's encrypted, it's secured, so your firewall will not be able to inspect, which is why the cyber criminal also know this very well. Cyber criminal knows that one of the best way for me to hack your network is to send some email to you, trying to actually cheat you and asking you to click on some link. And once you click on certain link, you are the one who initiate the activity from within your network to communicate with outside, and very often it's encrypted. From then onward, you will not be able to achieve being investigated and protected by a firewall. Your firewall will just let the traffic flow going. And that's established communication. That's how it works. The attacker will send some email, make it look like a McDonald's e-voucher, Lazada promotion, asking you to click on it. So the victim will look at it without further doubt. They will just click on it without knowing that it's a fake one. And that's how they will actually lead the user to start communicating to a fake site or phishing site, we call it. Once the communication channel established, that's how the computer, the website will start collecting data from the victim and then send it back to the hacker. And the hacker can start using those information to go into their respective legitimate website and do something funny. This is how a phishing attack happens. And that's very often the beginning of a ransomware attack. Someone sends email to you, you click on it, and then you actually establish a link. The ransomware will start searching around in your computer for file that can encrypt. Once they encrypt it, they will ask for money. And based on some statistics, you start to realize that a lot of people thought, hey, those are maybe they are targeting at the banks, maybe some of these bigger organizations. But to our surprise is that the one that being affected the most, infected for ransomware, are people like the professional services, like the lawyer firm, the accounting firm. These are the professional services. The healthcare industry, like the hospital, the clinics, or the public sector, like the government, the food industry. So these are the people that being highly targeted based on some of the real statistics. And another thing we like to highlight to you is that a lot of time, cyber attack happen without the cyber criminal send any file to you. They call it fileless attack. Many years ago, you probably heard of someone send you a file and you click on it, you download the file in your computer, and then this virus start to actually happen in your computer, corrupted your files. Those were the day in the history. Today, it has gone up to the next stage whereby a cyber criminal, all they need to do is that find a way of the communication loophole, talk directly to your computer, assisting the component, the processes that already been running in your environment. Those are the processes, your window management instrumentation, your registration activity. Those are the activities now currently running, which is allowed by your antivirus. The best way is talk to them, get them to change their sequence and do something funny on your behalf. So in that case, we are able to get your machines to do something funny without me running any file in your environment. That's why fileless attack happened. When at one time there was one ransomware, the WannaCry happened the same thing whereby they look for one of the vulnerability in your machines, go in talking directly to your encrypted encryption process, and that's how you get yourself being attacked by ransomware. So after so many things I talked about, looks like there are so many things I need to worry, from the spyware to the hacker to the virus to the online worm. So, and you are as strong as weakest thing. That make me confused. Then what do I do with it? Based on our experience, is quite unique, whereby I say, hey, I think it's true. We are actually quite confident. Most of the time when we do some scanning, we can definitely find something, which is why nowadays, a lot of these big organizations, big consulting company, they start talking about let's assume your environment has been breached. What does that mean? Because all this while, the strategy has been very focusing on preventive. Put in the firewall, put in the antivirus. These are, we call it preventive strategy, to prevent things from happening. But there is a new concept people keep talking about, is that let's assume our environment has been breached. What does that mean? That means that if we assume that our environment, our computer, our server has been breached, then the next question is that, are we prepared for it? Do we have any strategies, or have we set aside any resources or budget to detect whatever existingly in the environment and to kick them out? So this is why we start talking about, apart from putting your resources, your money, your budget into preventive activities, let's also put in some resources and budget to look into detection and response. Do some assessment of your current environment and do something about it. That is not prevention already. Even in this is one of the tweet that I managed to actually capture in a National Security Council from US. In fact, it was actually, we're talking about it. Patching and mitigation is not the right thing to do when your environment has been compromised. That is not the remediation. The remediation is to do something immediately on your machines that has been compromised. But what do? Do a compromise assessment. I don't want to go into detail, but technically you can see easily go into Google. But what in a nutshell, simple, it means is that find some kind of scanning tools to scan in your machine to see, is there any abnormal activity that has been running, that has bypassed your firewall, bypassed your antivirus, and now doing something quietly collecting your data. You probably heard of these things. Say, hey, how come this guy know that I'm doing business with this another customer, and he will know at the right time to send the right email to ask for the payment to make to another account, because someone has been there sitting quietly waiting for the right time to send the email out. They don't behave like a virus, so that the antivirus will not be able to catch them. But you need to actually find out. So, and once you actually do the compromise assessment to find out which machine has been compromised, that is to actually clear out the existing compromises, the things that has been being exploited. The next step is systematically. Just now we talked about the different layer. At the end of the day, the central core of it is the data layer. The data layer is that you want to actually protect your data. How do you do it? Some people will start recommending you that, okay, do some encryption. Encrypt your data so that no people can see. The database encryption, the file encryption is something that the product vendor would like to recommend you. But if another product vendor will say, no, actually most important is that your application must be secure. Some people will say, okay, no, secure your application and let them not being exploited. Let's do some web application firewall or put in some two-factor authentication. But the antivirus guy will talk about a host and say, no, you just have to do about endpoint detections. The internal network people will tell you, no, actually do some network access control protections. And the firewall guy will tell you, no, buy a firewall. The parameter must be secure. And the consultant will come back and say, no, put some CCTV. The physical network at least has physically you cannot allow the physical people to access to the server. So at the end of the day, the corporate will start to wonder, I say, okay, there's so many things I need to do. How do I prioritize? I only have so much limited budget. I can't be doing everything. And some consultants say, no, set up your policy first. So in that case, what I'm trying to say is that yes, all this is true. Whatever they say, up to a certain extent from their angle, is true. How about this? We recommend a 3x3 strategy. Someone who 3x3 means it's not really a basketball 3x3, but a different three type of tree, which I will actually talk about what are the different trees. The first tree is let's look into all the data in the physical world, in your file, in your office, and also look into the data you have been storing in your cyber, which is in your cloud, in your Hotmail, in your Gmail, in your server, and also the data that your people already know in their head. So these are the data. What can I do with it? Where is this data? Who is having this data? First tree. Second tree is that let's talk about securing this data of these three dimensions on the paper and the angle of people. How do I do something on the process? How do I put some technology in place? The people means that can I address the people vulnerability by some education, some security awareness training, making sure they do the do's and don'ts. So this is the second tree. And the third tree is that the objective that eventually you want to achieve is the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of data. In short, we call it CIA. Make these three clear objectives, then you've simplified the way you want to implement your cybersecurity technology or strategies. Confidentiality means that the one who have no right to get to know this data, they should not know. It's confidential. And the integrity means that when I get the data, I want to make sure that no one has changed it. The integrity of the data has been remained. No one has actually manipulated data along the way. And the availability means that when I need the data is available for me. It's three different objectives with the three different ways to achieve it. Then how do I go about it? I said systematically, let's go back to main basic. The basic, let's ask the question of what if? What if there is fire in my office? What if there is flood that is and then my data will be all put under the water? What if my server break down? Or what if there is hacker hacking? What if there is virus? Or what if my own staff go and steal my data out? So you ask this what if question one by one. Eventually from there, you start to actually assess what are these what if questions, who are the most likely happen, and which are when it happened, what is the what is the impact? Is this fatal? Like for example, You wouldn't want to actually put your money into solving a problem that even though it happened, the risk is low. Or you do not want to put into a problem that is a high risk, is a very fatal problem, but it's not likely to happen. You want to put your investment and resources into things that is likely to happen, and when it does happen, it's going to be fatal. It's going to cause your business to go down to the drain. To make it even in a more systematic way, we call it the risk matrix. Put the critical problem into highest risk score, scoring of 5. Put the low impact problem or not so harmful, like even though it happened, I'm not too worried about it, as low score. And then when it comes to likelihood, it's quite likely to happen. It's almost like every month it happens once. Of course, you put it in the high score of 5. And the likelihood of no, it rarely happens once in 10 years, put it in the low. So with that, technically, you can just put out a matrix program like this. Things that is very likely to happen, and when it does happen, the impact can be very, very fatal. High score, 5 by 5, 25. So, and then the things that is not likely to happen, when even though it happened, the impact is low, the impact is not so serious, then you multiply it, they become 1. So with that, you have a systematic way to do the risk assessment on, and then that helps you to actually look into the high severity, high possibility to happen. Eventually, it can turn into something like this. List down on the left-hand side here, all the risks that you maybe have. List out all the impact on the confidentiality, integrity, and available of data to your operation. Put the risk scoring there and correlate back. Just like I talked about the data layer, the application layer, the network layer, the physical layer, put all these things into the C, I, and A. Then from there, you eventually have a very systematic way of looking into your business. From there, you will not be easily being driven by any product vendor, because every time you see a cybersecurity product vendor, they will base on whatever they knowledge. They're probably not wrong, but they do not understand your environment. So if you can do something to your own self-assessment on the possible risk of your environment, then you can be quite sure on what money to spend, and then you wouldn't waste your money spending on things that is high, the low possibility or low risk. All these things can be done without paying $1. But anyway, I will show it to you. So of course, for the high risk things, sometimes you can actually spend some money, buy some technologies to mitigate the risk. Or sometimes you can actually mitigate, you can transfer the risk by getting some cyber insurance to solve the problem. When this thing happens, the cyber insurance will pay you money. So you transfer the risk to the cyber insurance. Or you avoid it, you totally don't do it. Like say, for example, if there is a cloud problem, you can give you a trouble, you probably do not want to adopt the cloud. Of course, we don't encourage you. We actually encourage you to mitigate the risk. But it can be one of the way. You avoid the risk, you mitigate the risk or transfer the risk, or probably you do something more drastic about it. Yeah, to accept the risk. There's nothing wrong with it. If the impact is low, it probably is the right thing to do to accept the risk. So with that, in fact, this is some of the examples that I actually managed to find in the internet. So all these things, you can actually, if you want to save money, all these free templates, strategies on how to you mitigate and do your risk assessment for your cyber threat. Of course, you want to be rest assured, you can also look for a company to say, hey, I want to do a gap assessment or risk assessment before I decide what to do with it. So we strongly recommend to actually at least do an assessment on yourself on what are the possible risks that I want to actually address. Of course, you can actually engage your IT department, you can get someone. But the world is now also having another problem is that we are seriously lacking of cybersecurity talent. In fact, according to statistics, the world is shortage of 3 million of people able to deliver cybersecurity services. These are the talent shortage that we have. For those people who have children, you want to, if they are actually still not sure of what to do after they graduate, or to choose what topic to learn in the university, perhaps cybersecurity can be one of the ideas, because this is highly in demand, their salary are typically higher. And also, for those environment, there is another challenge which I actually got it from another statistic that shows that it is actually not easy to actually really teach your staff on what are the do's and don'ts. So you have to constantly learn. Because I think there are a lot of people that actually agree that, oh no, I teach them till today, 2 months down the road, they forget. So with that, we also actually think about maybe there's another way. Grab car is the concept of sharing your economy where you do not need to buy a car of yourself. You don't need to pay a full-time driver, but yet at the click of the button, someone will come and fetch you without you paying the car, without you actually hire the full-time driver and fetch you around. So there is a pay-per-use idea of Grab, and you have the pay-per-use for A, B, and B. So they are sharing economy. The world is going this trend. But how about this? Since there are so much money we need to spend on cybersecurity, there's so much trouble about it. Is there a way we can look for someone who can do a pay-per-use cybersecurity services so that I don't have to hire the security specialist, I don't have to invest in the technologies, and yet I get myself secured at the fraction of the cost? What does that mean? In fact, the world is going to that direction as well. Managed security services. According to one of the reputable international research called Gartner, 80 or 90, more than 90% of organizations are going to MSSP, Managed Security Service Provider. What it means is that without worry about hiring people, buying the technology, go for someone who do it all for you. And these people, because they achieve the economy of scale, they can still deliver the service to you at a fraction of cost without you having to shoulder the entire full cost. Cloud is one of the reasons. And another thing is that maybe, in fact, we have seen, and there is another study has shown, a lot of people agree that because of cybersecurity, ended up there's a lot of good idea they not implement because they worry about the threat of cybersecurity. And even sometimes, even because of cybersecurity, they actually stop some of the mission critical idea. So, and I always like to use this analogy. In Japan, a country that is quite frequently you see the earthquake, and once the earthquake happens, the electricity will actually being cut off. But yet they are investing into, but yet they dare to use electronic brake that can to power their bullet train. Why? Because they invest heavy enough on a good brake. So even though in the country they have high possibility of electric being shortage, being cut off, being for the earthquake, yet they can have bullet train. Same thing. If you want to do business, international transformation, embrace cloud, embrace mobility, mobile e-commerce, but you actually worry about the cybersecurity. Invest in the cybersecurity, make your cybersecurity investment as an enabler. Tell your customer you are willing to invest to secure their data. That's why it's better to do business with you compared to anyone else. Whatever I'm saying is not something that I created. It's something that is become a global trend. There is a statistic showing that more and more organizations in the world now is trying to make cybersecurity investment or budget as a enabling budget rather than it's a defensive budget. They are making cybersecurity investment as an enabler. So you should think of it that way. No longer I'm using cybersecurity investment as the cost of doing business, but I'm making it as the enabler for me to differentiate myself with my competitor. Give me a little bit of another 2-3 minutes. I just do a quick one about who we are. Next, we are managed security service provider. We are certified with ISO 27000. What it means is that the way we do things are being audited. Because when it comes to cybersecurity, it's quite sensitive. You know my environment. You are managing my environment. What make me guarantee? What make me believe that you are a good guy? Unless you have been audited, you are following our SOP. So some of this certification is highly important, and some of these are our awards from Malaysia to the Jakarta, being awarded for using big data to do cybersecurity. At the end of the day, the critical thing about this is that the resources of the knowledge and the certificate of these people that we have. Yeah, and at the end of the day, NetAssist is a company that focuses on vulnerabilities. We are able to train, do consultation, and do the monitoring for our customers. And these are idea is that Many years ago, when we do business is physical, you actually hire security guard looking at the CCTV because you want to make sure that you have a cybersecurity guard. You have the guard to actually make sure that you do something monitoring on that. But today in the business of cyber, do you also look into hiring a cybersecurity guard to actually help you to safeguard of your data apart from your firewall and antivirus? So this is who we are. Our office is Jaya 1. We are actually doing this 24/7. This is our customer. With that, I hope I share a little bit of knowledge about some of the possible way of cost saving without investing much. And I hope that with today sharing, you do not accidentally overspend money on product or cybersecurity technology that may not be able to actually help you from practically saving yourself from cyber attack. With that, I end my sharing and presentation today. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hon. Wow, so much to learn. Let's go to the floor. Any questions anybody have? Please feel free to ask.
Okay, when it comes to cybersecurity, sometimes, well, actually, it's quite common for me when we share, right? Because it's kind of talking about the vulnerability. It's not that common that a lot of our participants like to tell out their own problems. And sometimes they will say, oh no, my friend's company has this problem. They usually say no, they didn't say that, oh, my company has this problem. Because it's not good to actually reveal the vulnerability of other organizations. So sometimes it's quite common. Sometimes it's quite common that after when we ask for questions, that oh, no question. I'll ask you privately later. So I
have one question for you, Mr. Hon. So if let's say, for example, for application developers, whenever after we created our product, some of the banks or some of the companies will request for some pen tests to make sure that it's all safe and done with. But at the same time, is it really necessary, and how safe it is in regards to that? After the pen test, can we really be sure that the application is not going to be attacked?
You're asking a very good question that is a part of my dilemma, to be honest. Why am I saying that it's a dilemma? My business in cybersecurity, I do a lot of pen tests. About 40% of our revenue is to actually deliver pen tests. But I keep on, but I tell people, you know, in 1 year time, there's 18,000 new vulnerabilities. Come to think of it, right? It's like if I do pen test now, I will use some tools, and this tool will based on the latest pattern of the known tactic. I use it to scan and see whether your software has got such kind of vulnerability that I can pen test. A lot of customers like to ask us, okay, after I do this pen test, it means that tomorrow I'm safe, right? So no, I say, because nobody dare to guarantee by tomorrow, is there a new tactic being discovered to attack you? Whatever I'm scanning, I'm based on whatever the latest tool of today I know. So if that's the case, and then the customer said, then why am I still want to use you to do my pen test? I said, well, thanks to a lot of system auditor, security auditor, they want to see a real report of you have done the first round of testing to close the gap of vulnerabilities. It is a proof records to show that you have find all the low-hanging fruit, the easy vulnerability being patched. So until today, it is still very common and still quite important for you to actually do one round of pen test to close up the low-hanging fruit, the easily available vulnerability. Then the next question was, okay, then what do I do next? Which is why I was just talking about continuously. There are certain organizations that actually offer services of 24/7 monitoring, so that when there is any abnormal behavior in the activity of your network or your application, the security operations center specialist will trigger the alarm and inform you, sir, we found something abnormal in your applications, and please do something about it. And they have bypassed your firewall, and they have then they're able to run under the radar. Your antivirus did not manage to capture that. One step at a time. Usually we ask the people, okay, let's actually do a penetration test to close the most obvious vulnerability. But ongoing, we will still we will actually sometimes recommend you, if you have the budget, find someone to help you to do the continuous monitoring for you.
Understood.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Hon.
Thank
Okay, there's a question over here regarding password. So the question goes like this: can you elaborate a bit more on the importance of password maintenance? Is it safe to use the automatically proposed ones? One. Number two, also the auto saving on the browser. Are they safe to go with?
Okay.
The questions coming from Dr. Daniel and Mr. Wong.
Okay, if let me just tell you a possible I can do. If you have auto saving of your password in your desktop, in your browser, you may have a risk if your machine being accidentally processed by someone else. Process means that someone either remote control of your machine or someone steal your machines, and if they're actually able to achieve on it, when they go into the server side, they'll start giving you recommendation. This is the remembered password. So we actually do not recommend you to actually do that. If I give you the justification of why it is not secure, because if I can get hold of the machines by remote desktop protocol, I remote control the machine, I will be able to go into the site, and then your browser start recommending me the password. So do you think it's safe? So I hope that gives you an answer of, is it a good way to do that? And secondly, that suggestion of password, actually typically it is quite safe, because they randomly generate a long enough password. Typically it's quite safe. But the next thing is that the challenge is that, do you really remember? It's so secure to the level that you can't remember it. So what do? Then you start saving the password in another place, in another, maybe Excel, in a Word, whatever. Google remember password. Again, it go back to the square one of someone remembering a password.
Someone or something out there remembering a password.
Yeah.
Dr. Daniel, you have your hands up. Let's hear from him, the proper nomis.
Hi.
Yeah. Two questions for you. One is password protected file. Are they safe? Once for instance, Excel allows me, Microsoft allows me to protect important files with a specific password. Without that password, you cannot open the file, right? Is that secure? First question. Second, okay, you start with this one, then I come in with the other one.
It is a good practice. It is secure. In fact, even let me just tell you again, our own company practices, a cybersecurity company like us, whenever we want to share some of the document, the quotation, proposal, or any important information, we will send to our customer with a password protected on the file, so that even though someone else in between managed to get hold of the file, they're still not able to read it because it is password protected. So we strongly recommend to actually have these best practices of password protections for your file. Yeah, it's a safe idea.
Okay. And the second question, maybe, I don't know, if it's okay for you to stop sharing the screen so that everyone is on the monitor. That will be nice. Okay. The next question instead is, it happens, normally is probably few times in a week, 2-3 times in a week, that I receive email. I have a company email, a mail server at raygroup.com.my, and it happens that I receive email from myself related to nothing. I mean, proposing Viagra, another one proposing something very funny. How does it work?
Okay, there can be two possibilities. When you receive some your email from yourself, we are not sure the email address, is it really from you? Because I can send you an email declaring the name is me, but you look into the email address, it's not you. So this is one possibility. In that sense, that doesn't mean that your email has been compromised. It's just that someone else created another email address but declared the name, because the name appeared in the email versus the real email address can be two different things. So to answer your question is that when you receive an email, if generally just showing your name, that doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily mean that your email has been compromised. It's just someone used maybe Hotmail, Yahoo email, created a name of yours. But if you investigate carefully and if you confirm that that email address is your own email address, then we can conclude that your email has been compromised. What it means is that someone able to guess your ID and password and log in to create an email of yours, send it back to you.
That means that the email server has been compromised.
Not necessarily. Why? Because if you are talking about Hotmail, Yahoo,
No,
Google Mail,
I'm talking about a private email server,
okay.
raygroup.com.my, and
Okay.
I am talking. I'm using Outlook in my computer. I'm not
Okay.
opening the email server.
Okay, if that's the case, two possibilities. Number one is that your mail server has been compromised. Someone accessing to your mail server and allow him to actually create email and send email on your behalf. Or sometime may not be the case. Maybe it's just simply because you use a simple password or your password has been known by someone else and someone log into your someone log into your email servers to actually send me on your behalf. That doesn't mean that your email server has been compromised. So two possibilities. Sometimes we recommend our customer to say, okay, let us actually do assessment on your email server to see whether it has been compromised. Or sometimes we just realize that, hey, no, your email server is not compromised. It's simply because someone able to guess your password. Why is it so simple? In fact, another statistic has shown that more than 50% of people like to use the same password for everything else. What it means is that you probably use the same password for your Hotmail, for your Facebook, or sometimes even for your mail to you. So
Everywhere.
yeah, and some of these emails like Hotmail probably a few years ago, some of this database of password being leaked out. So it's quite, as a hacker, it's quite easy. If you use this password, I probably can use the same password. I will try my luck to log into something else, and they have more than 50% chance of getting it right. Yeah.
I see.
Yes.
Wow. My goodness. And
So change
I
your
don't know.
password.
Yeah. How often password should be changed safely?
Okay. Typically, there is a statistic that shows that for a typical eight character password, you take more than 1 month to guess the password if you use some software to actually guess it. So which is why we recommend people at least 3 months once to change the password. But even better, the more often the better. Sometimes it's once a month, but I guess once a month, sometimes it can be quite hectic because every month different password. So we actually sometimes, most of the company that put a policy is that every 3 months change your password.
Okay. And I don't want to monopolize. Whoever has question, please raise hand. I keep on asking till when.
The question coming from Hendra, so Hendra Arianto, his question goes like this: will complying with standard like ISO 27000 or SOC 2 significantly help improving the level of security of the system? One. Number two, and do you provide ISO 27000 compliance consultancy service?
Okay, I hope you don't mind. I do a bit advertisement. Yes, we do ISO 27000 implementation
Absolutely.
and compliance. Okay, let's put it aside. Now, ISO 27000, it does help you to improve the cybersecurity of your company, reduce greatly the risk because in ISO 27000, there are 114 controls split among 14 domains for you to secure yourself. What it means is that systematically, it needs you to comply those environments. And once you can comply, you are pretty much safe. For example, in the ISO 27000, they include email security. It includes password security. You need to follow these practices in order to get yourself compliant and certified. So once you comply and certified, you are at least safer when it comes to that particular aspect of security. Say for example, one of the ISO 27000 is that have you really keep logs of your server? Have you make sure that your password has been renewed? Have you make sure that you have a firewall to protect yourself from the internet? So these are all ISO 27000 compliant requirements. Once you comply, that means that you are pretty much secure.
Okay, next question coming from Hendra as well. While automated pen test is useful, I feel like the white box security test or attack simulation might be closer to real world. Do you agree? Secondly, do you provide this service too?
Okay, another apology, another advertisement. Yes, I did that. We do that service. Okay, again, it is much better, which is why a lot of organizations prefer to use a service provider to do penetration tests, because an automated tool is defined. That means it's pretty much based on this defined boundary of things to do, then they will execute it. And very often this defined activity and process also known by the hackers. And the best, a lot of people ask, what is the best way hackers, or what is the best pen test strategy? And this is not me, but from my pen tester colleagues to tell me, Hon, you know what? The best strategy for a pen test is to let the pen tester behave like a hacker. What it means by behave like a hacker, it means that when a hacker want to hack your system, they do whatever it takes to hack in. That means that they don't only say, okay, I based on this tool. If I fail, I will give up. No, they will find out, okay, this is using Java, this is using PSP. Yeah. So they will actually go and find in the research in the dark web, in the research the tool, what is the best way to hack this system, and then from there they actually try. Same thing. A pen tester should do the same. Is okay. Oh, now I know that you are using Microsoft environment, MS SQL, and MS SQL is better to use this tool to hack you. So they will actually use it to find the vulnerability, and then they recommend you what to do. And then once they found the vulnerability, because it's not all vulnerability are exploitable. Some are real, but some may not be. So if it's for the real vulnerability, the pen tester will give, a professional pen tester will give you the recommendation on how to effectively or practically stop this vulnerability. But automated tools will just give you a typical recommendation. A typical recommendation sometimes may not be practical. Yeah. So which is why it's good to have someone to combine different tools to find your vulnerability and give a recommendation rather than using automated tools.
So does it also mean that it is not really safe to just encrypt the database or encrypt the data, because the encryption method is easily found and the keys are there?
It can be. We have seen cases where the keys were found in the template files. Maybe I don't know why, but so to me, I don't need to even actually try my guessing. I just have to search around, and ended up I found some of the temporary file. I found some of the keys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the floor?
What about hacking on the cameras? I've heard that is one of the very simple things to be done. Years ago, 2-3 years ago, someone was telling me, make sure you put up a tape on the computer camera, because people can easily hack on it. Is it true, or is it a legend, kind of?
It is true. I've seen it on my own self. My staff demonstrate to me, but it has to be done by if you want to hack me, you have to actually get me to react by clicking on something to allow the permission of you take control of my phone. So what we worry sometimes is that in our day-to-day surfing of internet or checking on your WhatsApp, maybe you may actually look at certain file, and based on certain trust, you may click on it. At the click of that button, you may grant the right for someone to maybe download some file, some program, or to enable someone to take control of your camera. So which is why we recommend our computer to have the cover, because we just want to minimize the possible risk of you accidentally click on some link that enables someone to open your camera.
Wow.
Even
More and more.
even you will see Mark Zuckerberg, such a such an advanced company, the big boss of the technology company, and he himself actually go and disable, go and cover the camera.
Yeah,
Who are we not to do that?
yeah.
Why worry only
Precisely.
about the video and not the mic? I mean, why worry only about camera and not also the mic on the device?
You should worry about the voice as well. But it is not easy for you to tape the mic and make sure it's soundproof, right? But it's easier for you to actually close the camera.
The point, one of the main scaring point is I'm using plenty of cloud storage on different location from Google to iCloud to what is that Dropbox and few other places. How secure are these places? Yeah, you know what I mean? Plus my website hosting services, my email server hosting services. How can we make sure that all our online material is safe?
Okay. Yes, there is some, but not often, some cases of my Apple Cloud being compromised because of the security in some of these cloud service provider. But I emphasize not often because all these cloud service provider, they understand the importance of the security. I have seen many of them, they actually invested into the security of this cloud, and they are typically relatively quite secure. And very often the leakage of data, not because of the technology provider not secure, but rather the culprit are the user themselves are ignorant or do not practice security practices. And very often it's just because of the user behavior accidentally leak out their own credential, login, and ID and password. Well, of course, I cannot guarantee 100%. All these cloud service providers, they are secure. We did see some of the cases. There are certain weaknesses of this cloud service provider, but it's not really often that we see these cases. It does happen, but it's not often.
I see.
So typically, we can safely say most of the reputable cloud service provider, they have actually practiced enough of security measurement to make sure that the user record are safe. Of course, but they have the disclaimer in their user agreement saying that they do not guarantee the 100% security of it.
So view if let's say we add another layer of IX, Internet Exchange, to connect back to the cloud services instead of connecting directly from the ISP alone.
Okay, I think that's a good idea because they're actually trying to create a gap. It's just like you are practicing a social distancing in the internet, in the sense of when I'm visiting some website, I actually now directly communicating to the web server or the application server, and because of the trusted relationship with this web server, you probably end up accidentally click on something and download something to you. Which is why there's another concept people say, no, I do not use my computer to directly access to, sir. I'm using another middle guy, and that guy as though as my virtual desktop for me to actually visit something, and all I see in my own desktop is just the image of it. That is another way that people are protecting themselves from getting direct infection from in the internet.
Downloading of document also, I heard, is quite dangerous, right? Is one of
It
the
can be.
source of Trojan horse or this kind of virus, right?
Yes. That is one of the most traditional way.
Yeah.
Even last time, the most traditional way is that send you some file, ask you to download. That's how we actually download some processes into your environment without you knowing.
Is it true that the files should be named without empty spaces? File that I need to send, file that I need to forward to someone. There was a cyber guy who told me back a few years ago, try to use underscore or dash or anything a loud character in such a way that your file name is without spaces.
Uh, Not that common that I see that they are causing you cyber threat if you are not using any uh, spacing of your file naming convention. Honestly, this is not one of the common ways that people do. So we don't. I'm not too worried about it. And as of this moment, unless there is in future there is some new tactic that we can actually use to actually compromise environment because of this file name convention of putting some space in between.
Okay, one
Yeah.
more, unless any other question is coming in. Sorry.
Not at the
No problem.
moment.
Yeah.
We don't have
You
any
are
questions
here.
coming in. But in
You are
April,
here. We squeeze you.
No,
Dr.
I'm more than happy
Daniel,
to share.
don't worry. Mr. Hon is speaking to us in April TechTalk as well.
Very good.
Thank you, thank you.
On
I
the
keep.
topic will be on human factor of cybersecurity.
Yeah, human
Oh
factor is
yeah.
always the trouble. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here. Yeah. The one that use same password in 220 places.
That is very true.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. I know. Well. There was something else just now. What I was saying.
Oh, here's a question. He just raised his hand.
Yeah, while you think, Dr. Daniel, so let me ask this to Mr. Hon also. You know, we as the entrepreneur or the business owner, and also in our particular case, PropTech Solutions, so we deal with a lot of this data. I think every company, same thing now, all the customers' data. So as an entrepreneur, we might not be tech savvy enough to know. So what is the first step we should do to ensure or to tell our IT team to say that this has to be in place, that has to be done, or a certain procedure and whatnot. So what would you recommend the first thing to look into? Thank you.
Very often, as an entrepreneur, of course, we want to find the most cost-effective way to actually do things. So I strongly recommend, even including myself, I actually do the same where actually we want our staff to be knowledgeable enough on what are the do's and don'ts that will greatly reduce your risk of being compromised. So and you don't need there's not a lot. In fact, you don't even need to spend money on it. Nowadays, people go to YouTube, find the knowledge, that security awareness on do's and don'ts, and why people being compromised. And with that knowledge is power. With that knowledge, you will actually save yourself from a lot of potential risk already. Of course, when you want to do something more, you enable more function in your company, in the cloud or whatever, or mobile application, or then you probably want to start investing into firewall, endpoint, whatever. But the most basic thing is knowledge. And this doesn't take you a lot of money to actually have. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Hon. Yeah, so I mean, beside the human factor lah, so that's why a lot of us is just okay, develop something, put it on the cloud, and that's it. You know, so we
Yeah.
all like rely on the cloud and then nothing else. You know, so any other just one or two tips that maybe on this aspect, on the cloud lah for cloud security maybe.
On the cloud security, the most important thing at the end of the day is that because you're developing web application, and we are seeing a lot of cyber attack at the application layer. What it means is that cloud service provider, the Huawei cloud, the Azure cloud, the Microsoft cloud. So all this, they have done their necessary network layer fundamental security, pretty much safe. But they were not doing much at the application layer because there is your application. They do not want to interrupt into the function of the application. So, which is why we strongly recommend when you actually roll out your application as an entrepreneur for your user, we strongly recommend to actually at least do one round of scanning to find out what is the loophole or vulnerability of your application, either mobile or web, because that can affect your reputation. If your application has something being defaced or the data being made available, we will actually, it can be a fringing of PDPA, and it can cost you a penalty because in Malaysia, we really have such a law where if you do not practice enough of security to protect your customer data, you will be in the wrong, and you will find yourself in the trouble of some penalty that you'll pay. We have seen that before. So at least you have to demonstrate enough of measurement and effort to secure the data. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but at least you can justify to the PDPA that, hey, I have done sufficiently to secure my my customer data, my business data, that is at least the fundamental that you secure yourself from any trouble of PDBA.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That is the fundamental thing.
Is there any hidden risk in choosing the option of keep me logged in for some of the applications, such as, for instance, Zoom or social media in general, where all my social media are always open, 24 hours, 24/7, basically. Is there any risk of kind of undirected hacking?
Okay. Two things. Number one, if it's a reputable social media, keep me logged in. Because they are reputable, we have the confidence, and we have seen it, where they actually they practice sufficient security to not letting this information being shared to other people. That should be quite okay, but nevertheless still not encouraged, because if you keep it logged in, that means that they are actually assessing your behavior. Even though you're opening a Facebook, but you're now checking in your Maybank activity. You're looking for Google to buy some Nike shoes. You also at the end of the day look into the YouTube to see some video. So all this information, without you knowing, actually they're probably keeping track of the behavior. It is not encouraged, because you do not want them to know your behavior, so that they will actually not use it against you, or to push something to you, or maybe some advertisement.
They
This is
keep on collecting data. Yeah.
Yeah, keep on data. Number one. Number two, what more if it is not a reputable social media, if they do not practice enough security in place, this data will be made available to someone else without them knowing.
Yeah.
And then we actually more confidential privacy information will be made available to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not
Wow.
encouraged.
Very interesting.
So Mr. Hon, this is the function of the cookies, is it? Built inside the thing. Is this the so-called cookie? And because I'd like to ask about what are the policies on using and not using cookies. Is there any, of such?
As much as possible, and my personal practice is I do not accept cookies, because I mean, this is my own, but actually most that doesn't mean that cookie is dangerous. It's just that, I mean, again, reputable big company, they are responsible, so they do not keep track of anything more than they shouldn't know. Cookies is is to actually keep track of who are you, so that in next time when you come back again, they know that your behavior, they know that you're same user, so that for them to do their own analytics. Okay, typically my visitor to come to my website, how often they come in, how long they do all these things, they actually want to keep track. Are you the same user? For good reasons, sometimes to actually for them to actually understand you, to maybe they serve you better. That is one of the reasons they do that. But because we are not technical enough, so or we do not even have time to actually investigate. Sometimes we just rather don't trust. I do not know what else are you collecting about us. So which is why sometimes there were some of the organizations, they'll ask you, okay, you accept or you have to look into the setting of the cookies. What are you willing to share out with these cookies? So some people will actually
we cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. So
No.
I get to that. Is it? Oh my goodness.
Oi.
It's okay on my side. I can hear him.
Hear him also very well, very loud and clear.
Oh, then maybe it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah, it's my side. It's my side. So sorry.
Okay. Cookies were initially meant for better serving the people who visit our website, so that we can also to do analytics. But which is why when you go to certain site, they will ask you whether you want to look into the setting before you accept it. So typically I do not, but that doesn't mean that it is dangerous. It's just that if it's some website is reputable, typically we believe that of course you don't 100% believe, you actually still want to review the setting. Or else the best practices is just reject the cookies if you can.
Wow.
But I have the disclaimer, that not necessarily bad, yeah. cooking not necessarily bad.
Yeah, the
Well,
only thing is normally you don't have the option to not accept lah, you know.
Yeah, sometimes I was actually a bit frustrated. So I said, okay, you don't accept, I have to accept that. I rather do not visit your website. Now it depends on whether how do you trust them, or actually what cookie setting that you have put your site inside into. What do you willing to share it out?
wow. Super interesting, not interesting, really super interesting. I will recommend all our members to have a look at the recording for sure.
It's my pleasure. I'm passionate actually. This is my passion for the last 20 over years. A lot of people ask me, after 20 over years, you're still very passionate. I said, yeah, very interesting, because sometimes it has something to do with human behavior. And that makes it very interesting.
At the end, there is always that small voice, very low volume voice in the behind of our head, telling us that antivirus program are hiring virus generators to keep running business, as well as cybersecurity companies are actually using hackers. Somehow is a bit like asking the best of the thief to become the head of your security. You will always have that question mark. No, I'm joking a bit, please, no offense.
Okay, I think this argument has been the last. My day one of selling antivirus software in 26 years ago, people ask me the same question. You sell antivirus, are you creating virus also? Number one, we don't have time to do that, and I don't need to do that because I think selling antivirus itself is busy enough for us to make money. So why are we spend time to create virus? Number one. Number two is that because cyber threat itself is profitable enough, so there are many people are motivated to do so without us paying them. So why do I? we don't need to pay them to do that. They have done it for. In fact, sometimes honestly, I mean jokingly, we tell my customers that, you know what? I'm sorry to tell you. Every time I see all this virus hacking, right? Sometimes I feel like I want to thank them because of them we have business.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that there have been few famous movies regarding this topic. Super hacker hired
Hold on,
by
very noisy.
CIA.
Sorry.
Hello?
No. Hi. Sorry. Hi. Can you hear?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I was saying that is pretty much common to have super hackers hired as consultant. Come and work for me.
It is true. But the more worrying thing nowadays is that you don't need to be a technical expert to be a hacker. We have seen in the dark web, you just need to pay money and someone will do it for you. That is actually getting more worried. That means that you don't need to actually, if you don't like to learn, you don't need to learn. You just pay money, someone will do it for you. That is kind of worrying.
Wow. Okay, and how big is this dark internet? The dark side of internet?
I have no actual statistic, but there are a lot of reports suggesting that what we are seeing on the real internet is just a tip of the iceberg. The dark web is the underneath, that is the 70-80% that you are not seeing. What is it true? I do not know, because it's dark web, there is no real official statistic about it. But this is generally everybody talking about it. Whatever you are seeing on the surface net is just the tips of the iceberg.
Wow. Well, again, super interesting, and thank you for your time and your knowledge.
Thank you
One
for the
last
chance
question.
for us to share. Sure.
One last question, just a short answer will do. You know, everyone is talking about Web3, blockchain, metaverse coming into our life nowadays. So does this pose bigger security threat? What's your opinion?
I believe that it is. it will pose a bigger threat, because when metaverse, all this virtual, you are living in the virtual world, that means that people will be able to actually log into the virtual world and cause something in your real life, because now you're mixing real life and the virtual world, and that open up a bigger exposure for cyber criminal to actually do something funny about it. Actually, I'm getting more worried about this. Well, have I seen any success of such compromise? Yet to happen, but I'm very confident it will happen. Because it's still new, so it doesn't come in yet, it will happen.
Blockchain is a hacker-free type of infrastructure or not? Because blockchain is you need to get so many permission, kind of, to allow to be allowed to withdraw or to modify information files and so on. Technically, should be a hyper secured environment, isn't it?
You are right, because it's an open ledger or a trace of track of transaction of a particular activity. That's why it's being used for Bitcoin, for cryptocurrency. So there are a lot of evidence to show that people are using this to actually trace back the auditability of an activity. So there are people are using blockchain for security implementation, which is true. It has been used for security purposes. But what we are seeing is that what makes you know that this blockchain of change of activities itself is a real or another fake one. A chain of ledger, how do you really go back and verify? So there is a question of, I have two sets of numbers. This number, of course, you can trace back, yes, it's a blockchain of a trace of audit ledger of being transferred. Then the criminal say, okay, I create another link, real chain of ledger, but this itself, the entire transaction, is it real? It can be in the duplicated. I mean, I can create a chain, unique chain of ledger, and claim that this is a coin. So, because there are no authority saying that this, because there are authority, no authorities, I say, it's because they rely on
unregulated.
Yeah. So this is what I was reading some of these articles about it, which I believe whatever I say is true. But I'm yet to see any fake blockchain being sold, or this non-fungible dongle. So we believe it will happen, but it's not happening yet. The challenge is that what guarantee that? So it's a bit too early for us to say, but from the cybersecurity point of view, the good sign is that people are using blockchain to secure. I think that is a good direction. But yet, we believe in future, who knows, there will be something being able to use for exploit. Whenever there are profitability to be gained, someone will find something to do something about it. This is what I've seen over the years.
What about last question before we close? Because otherwise we keep going till dinner time. Unless there are.
I love to share. I love to share.
After mine. Have you been looking into what is happening, if I'm not wrong, in either Estonia or Croatia, having implemented a almost full e-government?
Yeah.
How
secure
is that?
I think they learned the lesson from there. I think I saw the flow up from there. I think they learned from the lesson. I think they are quite secure from there onward. Yeah, it was one of the very good idea, and then it was actually being compromised, and the entire nation will actually gone down. But I think after that, actually they will actually recover, can come back with all the security in place, which is, I think, is a good learning experience. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's propose to our government here.
I think our government are doing something about it. Slowly but surely, we are seeing it.
Yeah,
Daniel, I'm thinking maybe we could have like a coffee session or something like that with Mr. Hon and some of our members to come together
absolutely.
to ask further
I would say,
questions or talk
I,
more. Let's have some
I,
pizza.
I would say
Oh, I
that
love
we
pizza.
might be or we might be inviting you for our first either breakfast or dinner gathering. We are thinking to organize one in March. I'll make sure Vivienne will let you know when.
Yeah. Love to
Absolutely.
do that. Love to do that. I love pizza.
Yeah, we can start with pizza first. Do you know Dr. Daniel is he called himself a Malaysian with Italian passport? Did I get that right this time?
Yeah, Malaysianized Italian.
Yeah.
He's more Malaysian than me.
90% Malaysian, 10% leftover Italian.
Okay, let's ask the floor. We only have Jackie, Hendra, and Adrian still here. Do they have any other questions? Of course, I did not forget about Wong.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I mean, yeah, thanks to Mr. Hon to answer the question just now. And I got your contact number, so maybe, yeah, we'll check with you directly later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hendra. I think Hendra will also speak on behalf of Adrian. If nothing, shall I do the closing now? Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Hon. This is a really good topic for MPA members. I think like what Dr. Daniel mentioned, let's have you to come over for our first session. So yeah, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the next upcoming Tech Talk is happening in a month's time, which is 19th of March. We are going to talk about digital marketing. Oh, hi, Jackie. Digital marketing by Google. So Google is going to come over to talk to us. How are you going to be able to digitalize your marketing events for your businesses? Look out for the announcement upcoming in the MPA members WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vivienne.
Thank you, Mr. Hon.
Thank you, Mr. Hon.
Thank you, Mr. Hon. Very interesting.
Thank you.
And bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend
Bye-bye.
ahead. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.